What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Food Wars Season 2, Episode 11. This series is about to end very soon. That's kind of sad when you take a moment to think about it. I mean, a lot of stuff is ending soon. I mean, look, we have only 2 episodes left of ReZero. When tomorrow's episode airs of ReZero, we only have 1 episode left. Next week, if I'm correct, is the finale of Season 2 of Food Wars as well. So, a lot of stuff is starting to end. It's kind of sad to realize that, but all good things must come to an end. So, diving headfirst straight into this episode of Food Wars, we get a lot of development, and we get an arc that really piques my interest. So, the main point of what is going on here, like this test that all of our main cast has been given, is that they need to change a restaurant. Now, at first glance, it looks like they're being assigned to these different restaurants, and they're just trying to fit in and trying to work a job and kind of make it to where they can actually do the jobs they were given. But the actual real goal of this test was allowing them to look at the restaurant and seeing what they could do to improve the restaurant. And I like the outlook of this because it is something that really goes to show you how they can better themselves in the future by looking at different things and how they can make it better than it once was. And the main point of this episode was showcasing how Soma and Aruto was able to overcome this situation and make the restaurant that was already a very well-known restaurant that many people love to go to and eat at, they managed to make it even better. One of the big issues that they had to face in this episode was that it was just endless stream of people. There was just so many people rushing in when it was rush hour to all times a day. There was literally no stopping. Like, there's just too many people constantly coming in. And, I mean, if you've ever seen it when you're trying to get food or you're trying to go someplace, let's just say an amusement park, okay, and there's lines, it's rather crowded, and you're like, fuck, you gotta wait so long. And sometimes, because of this crowd, it can cause people to just turn away and just walk away from the line or waiting for food or whatever. I mean, I'll be honest, when I was living in Florida a long time ago, and I used to go to Busch Gardens and stuff, and there was these long lines to these rides, sometimes I would just get fed up. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna walk off and I'm gonna go do something else. That's kind of how the people in the restaurant were acting. Like, I've already came here, I got about 15 minutes until I have to go, you've already taken about 12 minutes of my time, I gotta get the hell out of here, I just can't wait. And so, the main problem of this, restaurant was that it was just so well known, so popular, that literally they could not fulfill the orders of all the customers, and when they finally could sit down and try to feed everybody, they had such a big menu that it was so hard of them to choose what was the right person to send what order to. Like, for instance, let's say there's about 50 customers in your restaurant, and you have a handful of maybe 12 people working in your kitchen, maybe 2 waiters. It's going to be rather hard and difficult. Also, when you have a stream of customers constantly coming in trying to get in, you're going to be like, holy crap, okay, so this person wants let's say a hamburger, this person wants some salad, and you're getting it all messed up because you're like, holy crap, there's just so much coming in. So the main point of this episode was to kind of correct this issue, and it actually opened my eyes up to what reservations might do for others. And I used to, in the past, and even before this episode actually, I've never been a big fan of restaurants or other places constantly taking reservations to kind of make their schedule or allow people in. I mean, I understand the point of it, but this episode kind of opens my eyes up to why maybe some companies and restaurants do stuff like this, because if a restaurant gets too popular, it can get literally crowded way too fast, and then the staff can't keep up, and it causes their work efforts to just diminish, and they're like, all trash. So seeing how this episode handled that and allowed them to switch over to just nothing but reservations and allow it to where they can just take in customers at their pleasure, and when they have a certain set amount they just need to attend to, it makes it a hell of a lot better for them. So this episode's struggle and the way it tackled some of these problems was really realistic, and it opened my eyes up more to reservations and also diners in general. So well done, Food Wars, for doing something like that. A very informational episode. It gave me a lot of information I didn't really know of at the time. So, getting off of that, let's talk about Arena's side of this episode. So, Arena and Megami, they had their own little, I guess, segment of this episode, their own little half. They didn't have as much spotlight as, Soma and Aruto had, but at the very least, Arena and Megami, they kind of had this little bonding moment throughout this episode, and you see it to where Arena literally takes over the kitchen and makes it better. Now, the way she was kind of, enforcing these certain things was a little bit, I guess, I don't know how. If I was the person that was leading that, I would be a little bit upset and pissed off if someone came into my kitchen and started, just changing everything. I understand. I mean, sometimes change is good, sometimes too much change could be bad, and also don't change something if, it already works. Like, don't fix something that isn't broken. Now, I bet everybody's kind of heard this, saying before. But Arena came into the kitchen, she just started acting like she truly normally is when she's, like, in cooking mode or tasting mode or whatever. She started getting very stuck up and is like, you need to cook like this, we need to change this, and you have to where the chef, the main guy that was leading over the restaurant, he was getting pissed off. You saw it on his face throughout the entire episode of how mad he was getting, but I do have to compliment the man for one thing. The man did not snap. He actually allowed Arena to change things for the better, because even though he felt like his pride was probably removed from him and he realized he was pretty much getting shit on as a chef, at the very least, he was a good enough chef and a good enough person to realize what she was doing was actually helping him out in the long run. Even though he was pissed off, he was angry, he wanted to just probably throw her out right then and there, at the very least, he was intelligent enough to not throw her out, and he allowed her to change things like she wanted to make it even better, because he realized what she was doing was actually helping him out in the long run. So he was a very good chef. I have to say, regardless of how much Arena changed and all that in his restaurant, we can at least give the man some credit to say he had some good intelligence as a business owner, to a chef and all that, to allow things to be changed for the better and not just be, I guess, cocky or prideful to where he doesn't want it to be changed regardless if it's better or not. I'm glad he was able to suck it up and become a better chef. That right there makes me happy too. So we got to see two sides of the spectrum in this episode of Food Wars, and it was a great episode to give us a lot of information about maybe how the business world works and, how the food industry is. So I like this episode, the way it kind of did that, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. This was kind of the first round of all this test that Soma and them have to do, and then next week's episode will focus on the second test. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in that. Now let's talk about the character developments that some of our characters got. And one of the biggest characters with development, I guess you could say, was Aruto. Now, as we know, Aruto has been going through kind of like a crisis in recent episodes. She has kind of distanced herself away from Arena. She's always been by Arena's side. We've seen her by her side constantly throughout Season 1 and even Season 2, but because of her loss to Hayama, she feels like she no longer is worthy enough to stand beside Arena. She doesn't want to be with her anymore because she feels like she would be a disgrace if she was to be even next to her. And one of the big things that she's having to overcome right now is to realize that instead of constantly trying to follow behind Arena and be right behind her, she needs to be able to the point where she can walk beside her. Instead of trying to be behind her in her shadow, you should try to stand beside her as an equal. And this is something that Aruto needs to actually understand and realize and overcome. And this is something that Soma is currently trying to overcome as well. It's a little bit different, but he's trying to overcome it in a kind of similar fashion. He's always been chasing after his father as a cook and wanting to, be good, but he's always been behind him. He's never tried to walk beside him, and that's kind of what Soma has realized. He's realized that now, instead of just running after his father, which he'll never reach, he needs to try to figure out a different path to where he can literally stand beside him instead of behind him. So, great episode. Loved the development. Loved all the stuff we got in this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You'll have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.